Have you ever stopped to thank the person who rejected you? No one teaches us how to do that. From childhood, we're told to avoid pain, to fear failure, to dread the word no. Rejection is framed as something humiliating, something to be buried and forgotten. But here's a truth most people never discover: rejection is not the end. It's a beginning, sharper, clearer, more honest than any fake applause could ever be. You thought they didn't want you because you weren't good enough. You thought it meant you failed. But what if it was the exact opposite? What if rejection is life's most brutal form of honesty, a mirror that refuses to lie, no matter how badly you want it to? The first time you get rejected, it stings like hell. Your chest tightens, your pride cracks, your mind begins its cruel game. What did I do wrong? Why wasn't I chosen? But if you stop running, if you stand still in that fire, something strange happens. You begin to see clearly. You begin to understand that rejection is a filter, not a punishment. It removes what's not meant for you. It exposes who's real, who's pretending, and what parts of you still need sharpening. Lesson 1: Rejection is information. Nothing more, nothing less. It doesn't define your value, it reflects a mismatch. When someone says no, it doesn't mean you are nothing. It means, not here, not now, or not with me. That clarity is powerful. When you stop taking rejection personally, it becomes directional. It's like a compass made of pain, always pointing you somewhere truer. Lesson 2: Rejection forces reinvention. When a door slams shut, it doesn't just stop you, it reroutes you. Think about it. Would Steve Jobs have built Apple again if he hadn't been fired from the company he founded? Would Oprah have become a cultural icon if she hadn't been told she was unfit for TV? Rejection is often the pressure that cracks the shell of who you were, so something better can emerge. But here's the trap: most people never get to that point. Most people experience one failure and shut down. They build walls. They shrink. They say things like, "I guess I wasn't cut out for it." They treat rejection like a verdict instead of a challenge. But if you look closely, every person who built something real, something lasting, was rejected first. Lesson 3: Rejection reveals what you truly want. The pain you feel after rejection is not just about loss, it's about desire. You wanted something so badly, and it didn't happen. That disappointment is raw proof that you cared. And where there is deep care, there is potential for greatness. Rejection strips away pretense. It shows you what actually matters to you. Most people don't know what they want until they don't get it. Then suddenly, the fog lifts. So the question becomes, will you chase what you truly want, even if it means risking more rejection? Because that's lesson 4. To get anything meaningful, you must be willing to be rejected for it. Again and again. There is no path to greatness that avoids the sting of no. If you want love, you'll be vulnerable. If you want mastery, you'll fail. If you want to lead, you'll be criticized. The currency of all worthwhile things is rejection. If you're not getting rejected, you're playing too safe. Let that sink in. Lesson 5: Rejection builds resilience, but only if you face it consciously. It's not enough to move on, or pretend it didn't hurt. You must dissect it. Sit with it. Ask, what exactly was I hoping for? Why did this rejection shake me? What part of my ego got bruised, and is that a part worth protecting? If you can mine rejection for answers, you'll come out not just tougher, but wiser. And that's the difference between people who grow and people who stagnate. One uses rejection as data. The other uses it as an excuse. Lesson 6: Sometimes, rejection protects you. That job you didn't get, it would have crushed your creativity. That relationship that ended, it would have slowly killed your spirit. You only realize it later. At the time, it felt like betrayal. But in hindsight, you see it was a kind of mercy. Rejection doesn't just deny access. Sometimes, it saves your life. There's a quote that says, rejection is redirection. It's become a cliché, but like all clichés, it's rooted in truth. The key is what you do next. Do you get bitter, or better? Because that's the pivot point. That's where your power lives. You can let rejection harden you. You can grow resentful. You can close your heart and dull your ambition. Or you can rise. You can sharpen. You can say, this hurt, but I'm not done. Rejection is not your enemy. It's your training ground, your teacher, your silent coach, whispering, there's more in you. Keep going. And if you can learn to love rejection, not in some fake motivational way, but truly embrace it as necessary, you become unstoppable. Not because you never feel the sting, but because the sting no longer controls you. You see, confidence doesn't come from never failing. It comes from being rejected 100 times, and standing up for the 101st. This is just the beginning. The lessons continue. The pain transforms. And somewhere in the middle of all those no's, you find the version of yourself who doesn't beg for approval anymore, because he's already chosen himself. And that's when the world starts to say yes. Even when it doesn't matter anymore. There's a strange thing that happens once you've been rejected enough times. You stop fearing it, not because it no longer hurts, but because you've seen what comes after. You've seen that your heart doesn't stop beating. You've seen that your ideas still matter. You've seen that what was denied in one place can be welcomed in another. And once you understand that, rejection loses its power to paralyze you. This leads us to lesson 7. Rejection teaches you to build from within. Most people live on external permission. They wait for someone to say yes. A boss, a gatekeeper, a lover, a friend. But when that permission never comes, and the doors stay shut, you are forced to ask yourself, am I willing to give myself permission to continue anyway? That's when everything changes. The artist who keeps painting after his work is mocked. The entrepreneur who keeps creating after her idea is ignored. The person who keeps showing up after every no, not because someone told them to, but because they believe in the value of their work. That's the person who becomes undeniable. Lesson 8. Rejection purifies your intentions. It scrapes away the ego. If you're doing something just to be liked or approved, rejection will destroy you. But if you're doing something because it matters to you, rejection becomes irrelevant. This is how you separate real desire from vanity. You stop chasing applause. You start chasing truth. And this matters, because anything built on the hunger for praise is fragile. The moment the clapping stops, it crumbles. But if you're building from a deeper place, rejection can't take that away. It can delay you. It can frustrate you. But it can't touch your foundation. This is what most people never understand. Rejection is not always about you. Sometimes it's about timing. Sometimes it's about fear. Sometimes it's about the other person's blindness. You can be brilliant and still get overlooked. You can be ready and still be told to wait. That doesn't make your work less valuable. That just means you're planting seeds in soil that isn't ready yet. Lesson 9. Rejection creates separation, and that's a gift. It separates the ones who are in it for the outcome, from the ones who are in it for the process. If you're chasing only results, every rejection feels like death. But if you've fallen in love with the process itself, the growth, the learning, the quiet war of persistence, then rejection is just another stone in the road. You don't stop. You just get better at navigating. There's something powerful about not needing every door to open. It makes you dangerous, independent, centered. You stop chasing acceptance, and start attracting it. People can feel the difference. They sense when someone walks into a room and doesn't need approval to breathe. They sense the calm of someone who's already survived rejection and kept moving. That's the kind of presence that changes conversations. That's the kind of person people want to follow, not because they asked to be followed, but because they've proven they can stand alone. Lesson 10. Rejection humbles you, and humility is strength. There's no room for arrogance when you've been broken. When you've been told no enough times, you begin to understand how little you control. You stop trying to manipulate every outcome. You start focusing on what's in your hands, your discipline, your words, your mindset. That shift is where real power lies. Because when your worth is no longer up for debate, rejection becomes a lesson, not a sentence. And yes, there are moments when rejection feels unfair. When you know deep down you deserved better. But even that teaches you something. It teaches you to create your own table when no one gives you a seat. To write your own script when no one casts you. To speak your own truth when no one invites you to the stage. Lesson 11. Rejection fuels creativity. Pain always leaves behind energy. The question is, how will you use it? Will you turn it inward and rot? Or will you turn it outward and create? Some of the most beautiful songs, the most powerful books, the most stirring performances came from people who were told they didn't belong, and who responded with art. There is a clarity that comes with rejection that you cannot buy. It sharpens your voice. It focuses your message. It forces you to find new ways in. And often, those new ways become the path you were meant to walk all along. No one would have asked you to carve that path. That's the point. Rejection pushes you into originality. Because the road that's blocked forces you to invent your own. And finally, lesson 12. Rejection makes acceptance sweeter, but also less necessary. When you've faced enough rejection and kept going, when you've rebuilt yourself in silence and proven you don't need applause to exist, you begin to carry yourself differently. Not with pride, but with peace. You walk into a room without performing. You speak without begging to be heard. You offer your truth and let others decide if it's for them. And if it's not, you let them go. Not out of anger, but out of freedom. Because you know that what is truly for you will never require begging. It will recognize you. It will resonate. It will stay. But before you can receive that, you must become the person who no longer chases. You must go through the fire of rejection. You must be stripped down until there's nothing left to prove, and only truth remains. That's where your real power lives. Not in being accepted, but in being real, regardless of who accepts you. And once you taste that, you'll stop fearing rejection forever. Because now, you know how to use it. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest, not the most charismatic, not even the most talented. It's the one who has faced rejection and kept creating. Because that person doesn't flinch anymore. That person has built something stronger than skill, resilience. And that resilience is made of every no that tried to break them but didn't. We are taught to equate rejection with loss. But that's incomplete. Rejection is also exposure. It shows you what still controls you. If someone's opinion has the power to destroy your spirit, then your spirit wasn't free to begin with. Every rejection is a test. Are you willing to choose yourself, before anyone else does? That's where identity is forged. Not in praise, but in absence of it. The people who truly make something of themselves don't wait for approval. They move forward without it. And when rejection comes, they don't collapse. They adapt. They evolve. They find another way. This isn't about pretending rejection doesn't hurt. It hurts. It burns. But it burns away the illusion that your value comes from the outside. And when that illusion dies, something extraordinary is born, independence of mind. The people who endure rejection long enough, deeply enough, come out with a kind of untouchable calm. They don't chase, they attract. They don't beg, they invite. They know the difference between attention and respect, between being seen and being understood. And they stop playing games to be liked. This kind of strength is rare, because it's earned. You can't fake it. You can't read about it in a book and suddenly become immune to rejection. You have to live through it. You have to sit in that awful silence after someone says no. You have to lie awake at night wondering if you'll ever be seen. And you have to choose, again and again, not to give up. The road isn't glamorous. It's lonely. It's quiet. But on that road, you build something unshakable, character. There's a moment in every person's journey when they are not chosen, not believed in, not supported. That moment is the fork in the road. Some people turn back, others keep walking. And if you keep walking long enough, something unexpected happens. People begin to notice. The ones who once said, no, now ask you to come back. The same doors that were closed begin to creak open. And you realize something else. You don't need them anymore. Because by now, you've built your own doors. That's the twist of rejection. It gives you something more valuable than what you thought you lost. It gives you self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of everything: relationships, careers, creativity, courage. When you trust yourself, you don't beg people to stay. You don't force things to fit. You don't chase ghosts. You become magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're standing in your truth, calmly, firmly, without apology. And people are drawn to that. They don't know why. They just are. It's not arrogance. It's not ego. It's alignment. You know who you are, and you no longer need everyone to agree. The irony is this: once you stop needing acceptance, you start receiving it. Once you stop fearing rejection, you start getting chosen. Not always, not by everyone, but by the right ones. The ones who see what you bring without needing to be convinced. And more importantly, you start choosing yourself. This is the quiet revolution of rejection. It doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see the world. You stop seeing closed doors as insults. You start seeing them as signs. You stop trying to squeeze into spaces that don't fit your spirit. You stop over-explaining yourself to people who've already decided not to understand. You stop overworking for things that no longer feed your soul. You let go. And in that letting go, you reclaim something essential: your energy. The energy you once wasted on overthinking, on pleasing, on obsessing over who didn't call, who didn't reply, who didn't applaud. Now you use that energy to build, to create, to live. Because here's the final truth: rejection doesn't block your life, it redirects it toward what's real. But only if you let it. Only if you stop seeing rejection as the end, and start seeing it as initiation. A trial, a sharpening, a strange kind of grace. And yes, there will still be moments where it hurts. When the door closes just as you were reaching for it. When you do your best, and it's still not enough for them. when you put your heart on the table and it's left untouched. But those moments no longer define you, they just remind you that you're alive, that you care, that you're human. And that's not weakness, that's power. Because the person who can stay open after rejection, the person who can still love, still try, still create, that person is rare. And that person cannot be stopped. So the next time you hear no, don't panic, don't run, don't shrink, breathe, thank it for the lesson, look it in the eye, and keep walking. Somewhere along the path, you stop counting how many times you were rejected. You stop keeping score. Because what once felt like failure now feels like forging. Each no was another hammer strike. Each disappointment, another blow against the metal. You weren't being punished. You were being shaped. And now, finally, you start to feel it, your edge, your strength, your solidity. You're not the same person who was first rejected. That version of you was fragile, hungry for approval, shattered by silence. But this version, the one who kept showing up after every silence, is different, calmer, sharper, and most of all, deeply rooted in something unshakable, self-respect. You begin to realize that rejection wasn't your enemy, it was your teacher. It taught you where not to go, who not to trust, what not to lower yourself for. You used to beg for things that you now wouldn't even accept. And that is growth. The world will tell you to move on after rejection, to forget it, but don't. Remember it, study it, let it speak, because sometimes rejection is your future self, disguised as failure, pulling you away from what you thought you wanted, and toward what you actually need. You wanted their validation. Life gave you solitude instead, so you could learn how to validate yourself. You wanted entry into their world. Life shut the door, so you could build your own. And now, here you are, no longer chasing closed doors, no longer knocking where you're not welcome, no longer shrinking to fit into someone else's story. You write your own now. And that's the secret that no one tells you. Rejection builds authorship of your voice, your choices, your direction. You stop auditioning for roles in other people's lives and start casting yourself in your own. That doesn't mean you become invincible. It means you become real. And real people don't win every time. They don't always get the job, or the love, or the recognition, but they show up anyway, with their soul intact. They understand that rejection is just part of the rhythm of life, just like winter, just like nightfall, not something to be feared, something to be endured, understood, used to become wiser, used to become cleaner, used to become free. And eventually, rejection becomes less dramatic, less personal. It's just information, not a wound, but a map, a redirection sign. You don't take it as an insult, you take it as instruction. You adjust your aim, you refine your offering, you double down on your truth, and sometimes, you just walk away, without bitterness, without explanations, without looking back, because peace is better than forcing things, because you've tasted the power of being aligned with yourself. That's what rejection gives you, if you let it. Not just thicker skin, but a clearer soul. A soul that knows its worth. A soul that doesn't flinch when others don't recognize it. A soul that continues creating, speaking, loving, not for applause, but for truth. And here's the twist. When you no longer need acceptance, people feel safer around you. Because they sense you're not performing, you're not manipulating, you're not afraid, you're just present, honest, grounded. That's what makes people trust you. That's what makes people listen. That's what makes you unforgettable, not your perfection, but your persistence. And if you look back now, really look, those rejections that once devastated you, they look different, don't they? You see that person who left you as a blessing. You see that job you didn't get as a detour towards something richer. You see that silence as an invitation to go deeper. And you realize, you were never being punished. You were being prepared, for this, for now, for the moment when you would finally stop asking the world for permission. The moment you would look in the mirror and say, even if they never clap, I will still create. Even if they never love me back, I will still love myself. Even if no one chooses me, I will still walk forward. That's the real prize. Not the job, not the relationship, not the applause, but the version of you that was born through rejection. The version that doesn't bend for approval. The version that stands quietly in the storm and says, I am still here, still alive, still worthy, still building. So if you're in the middle of rejection right now, listen to me. Good. It means you're trying. It means you're alive. It means you care. Don't hide from it. Don't numb it. Don't call it failure. Call it fire. Let it forge you. Let it teach you what really matters to you. Let it show you what you still need to learn. Let it strip away what was never truly yours to begin with. And then, rise. Again and again. Not because the world said yes, but because you no longer needed to. Because you finally understand, rejection is not the end of the story. It's the start of the one worth telling.